Hello and welcome. I'm David Robinson, the online editor at The Banker, and today we're going to look at Islamic finance in Asia. It's a sector that's undergoing something of a digital transformation as fintechs move into the space. With me to discuss this is Kimberley Long, the Asia editor. Kim, Asia's Muslim population has not always had the best access to Sharia-compliant financial services for a variety of reasons. How would you describe the Islamic finance space in Asia compared to other parts of the world?
So the Islamic finance space in Asia is really starting to progress now. So I think to start with, you saw Malaysia was really leading the way in the region and also globally. For example, it was the first market to release a green Sukuk, so like a green Islamic finance bond, which was quite revolutionary in the market. Indonesia has also started to move forwards as well, but I think the Philippines is the most interesting market at the moment. So they've had one Islamic finance compliant bank now for several years, but one is not very much to cover the entire market. And considering the population of the Philippines, around 10% are Muslims, so one bank isn't really enough to cover the whole population there. So they've recently moved to create more Sharia compliant facilities and banks there. So that's really kind of pushing things forwards, especially there. And also, when you look at the kind of services that are offered, they're very limited actually across the region. So rather than being quite technical, a lot of the services that are on offer are very basic things like just current accounts and debit cards and things like that. So while there are some services available, they're actually still very basic.
What's going on in the region at the moment to increase access to banking and I suppose to boost financial inclusion?
So I think the main thing is really just the evolution of fintechs and online banking. So, we've really seen the Asia region has really pushed ahead globally in terms of more conventional forms of banking and fintechs and online banking. And I think a lot of the Islamic finance organizations are looking at that and thinking, well, maybe we could replicate that in our space as well. So we're really starting to see that happen. And we're starting to see these organizations emerge, which are really focused on providing services that are Sharia compliant. So, for example, the post office in Indonesia has recently teamed up with an organization called Kinesis, and they've developed the first gold-backed finance payment system, which is on the blockchain. So it's incredibly modern and very, very forward thinking, but is also completely Sharia compliant. So it's ideal for the country. And also as well, we're seeing some things being developed for the SME space as well. So for example, there's Alami Sharia, which is providing financing for SMEs in order to buy equipment, which again, kind of falls within the Sharia compliance space. And finally, as well, there's also organisations like Do It Happy, which is backed by aid agencies. So rather than providing physical money, they will provide access to services or to products or to buy food, for example. And a lot of the Islamic aid organisations are really attracted to this because they can know for sure that they're complying with Islamic financing tenets to make sure that it's all being done in a compliant way. And that was something that was not always guaranteed if they were working with conventional banks, because they didn't know that the finances would actually stay within what was approved as being under Islamic finance. So there's a lot of developments that are happening across a lot of different areas. It's just that it's kind of still quite a slow process.
A lot of these fintechs are doing some really interesting things. I suppose, how can it help with increasing the availability of Sharia-compliant banking options across the board?
So it's a bit of an interesting kind of time to see this all developing at the moment. So, well, as I said previously, we've seen this boom of digital and online banking in Asia, and a lot of kind of Muslim customers are using conventional banking, and they're now looking at seeing what's available that actually confirms with their faith and what's approved under Islamic law, and they're thinking, actually, why don't we use that instead? So we're starting to see that shift over. And also this emergence is giving people who are constrained by their faith and by their beliefs, who haven't been able to use conventional banking, they're actually now looking at these services and going into the banking system for the first time, which is, it's quite incredible, really, especially, as I say, in countries like the Philippines, where 10% of the population maybe has not really had full access to banking before. And also as well with these kind of evolutions, you're seeing that to use Islamic finance services, you don't have to be Muslim, So they're saying other people are looking at it and thinking, actually, this is a really great kind of system, or it's a great platform, or they're just happier maybe with the way that the systems work. So they're looking to move into using these as well. So there's a real development in what's happening there now. And I think what would be interesting going forwards is, again, like Alami Sharia, who I've already mentioned, they've recently purchased a Sharia compliant bank. So going from being a fintech, they're now looking to move into the banking space. So it's quite an interesting evolution there, where the fintechs are starting to move now into the more conventional banking. And overall, having these fintechs is really creating an opportunity for people to enter into banking for the first time. So, for example, if you look at a country like Indonesia, which is huge and just spread over hundreds and hundreds of islands, it's really hard for some people just to get access to the kind of formal banking system. If they don't have a bank that's on their island or nearby, it can be prohibitively expensive for them to actually travel to somewhere to access banking. So if they've at least got the ability to access banking via a phone or via an app, it's so much more simple for them. And it's that system now of being able to enter into banking for the first time, and also to find a banking system which fits with their faith.
Well, Kim, thank you. The development of the Islamic finance space is something we will continue to watch closely on The Banker.